Welcome to the Leading Through Unprecedented Change webinar series. I am Marco Valsecchi, your host and country manager MD of the Adecco Group in India. In this series, we feature leaders from across the region to discuss forces, opportunities, and how to navigate challenges that are inspiring and shaping the future of work in India. To begin with, it's my great pleasure to welcome our panelists for this webinar. Prerna Jha, Assistant General Manager, Sales and Marketing, brand Liva, Grasim Industry. Welcome, Prerna, and thanks a lot for being part of this. And then Krishna Rakshi, Head Employee Relation, Bayer Crop Science Limited. Hi, Krishna, and welcome. Thanks both of you for taking off your busy schedules, and we are extremely happy to have you here, and to especially to hear from you and how you lead and in this unprecedented change timings. I'm also joined by two of my colleagues. One is Manu Sehgal, she's Adecco India Director General Staffing Business, and Debrapta Debnath, he's Associate Director Outsourcing Business for Adecco India. Welcome both of you, of course. So let me start with what is the pandemic, what type of shake the pandemic has given to us. And if we look at the world currently, this pandemic has unveiled at least one collective weakness. No matter how prepared we think we are, the situation can escalate up rapidly in multiple directions with significant implications for organizations and economies at large. No? While many countries, businesses and organizations try to do things in their own way with varied degrees of success, one of the most important non-medical aspects of the crisis is what we call the new era of work. Our so-called new normal, in which we are all confronted and dominated by physical distancing, working from home, with supply chain disrupted or partially disrupted, and I would say a huge acceleration in the digitization. The digital movement and trend has started a few years back, but we have seen an unprecedented acceleration of this in only these past 8 to 9 months. But the biggest challenge we have now at hand is the possible prolonged jobless recovery. Economies are now, and business cycles are floating at the rhythm dictated more by the virus than what we were used to by demand supply of goods. As we emerge from this pandemic, every one of us here today has a unique opportunity to show leadership by taking the appropriate behaviors. Let me make an example. For example, empathy is not negotiable anymore. It's a leadership trait that to be successful in this period and going forward is going to be critical. People first is evident across sectors, geographies, and societies. One of the visible outcomes is the repositioning of the human versus machine dilemma. We have been talking for quite many years now about artificial intelligence and the position of the human within in the job market. And I think this pandemic has put back very much in the middle the human being and the importance of people and people first. At the Adecco Group, we are fortunate to enter this crisis in a position of strength. We are working, of course, around the clock across several geographies, using all our collective resources and experience to help our clients respond to a unique set of circumstances that we are all facing. We thrive through common global experiences for associate candidates and clients. We are trying to make sure that whatever best practices we see around the globe are as widespread as possible to put, again, people first. The very foundation of the company were built around supporting business through difficult times. Probably not many of you know, but to be precise, during the outbreak of another pandemic in 1957, one of our founding fathers, Henri Ferdinand Lavanchi, set up a business in France to offer temporary staff to take over from employees who were sick. This business later became known as Adecco. So it is in our DNA to help and provide solutions, especially in this challenging time, and this is what we are thriving to do. With our experience and capability, we are demonstrating and showing this again during this pandemic. We do this guided once again by one of our core values, putting people first at any step of the way. Our business continuity plan is fully activated. We are working from home since the beginning of March. The Adecco Group leadership and myself are meeting daily and regularly to respond and assess the situation as it develops. We all know we need to be very agile in this period and to make sure that we understand that the timings and decisions are dictated in this period more by the behavior of the virus than by whatever else we were known and used to use. Our priority is, of course, to ensure people's health and well-being and support for our valued clients and associates. Actions have been put in place to reduce potential for virus transmission across all our locations. We have more than 40 locations across the country, and we have established a robust support structure to ease any anxiety faced by our clients, business partners, and associates, of course, making sure we align our business continuity plans with the one of our clients. Beyond the immediate business continuity response, of course, our teams across all our brands are responding by anticipating the needs that all our clients have and tailor-making the services into solution for our clients and to support you to navigate this fast-changing landscape. We remain, of course, at your side during the crisis and also looking forward to work closely with each one of you to seize the longer-term opportunities that this situation may bring. There's going to be a new normal with which the future will have to be created together. We've been increasing massively our interaction with clients and really walking the talk of being in all this together. The consequences of this pandemic are too widespread to be handled by one person or by looking at only one variable, profit. What we should do is to move closer together, of course not physically, and act with a grand vision to push it out of this with a renewed strength. Unfortunately, we've seen and we experienced directly unemployment rate spikes in the past months. The tentative subsequent and partial regional lockdowns and restarts will become a matter of reality for the next several months. We are faced with creating 90 million jobs over the next decade in India, and we'll of course need to do it all together and to implement significant reforms across the economy to ensure its trajectory of work. Each one of us has a small contribution to make. Adecco will make for sure his. It is going to be extremely important to get our job creation and income generation engines alive and humming again once the worst of the crisis is over. As a global company, we have a presence of more than 60 countries. Each one of those countries are affected by this pandemic. And our data, unfortunately, confirms that, you know, if we don't implement short work and other similar schemes, it's going to be very difficult to help people to work in the job. And thus, it's going to be very difficult to avoid mass layoffs. Implementation of these schemes and that vary from country to country in terms of inclusiveness, volume, and durations. But where we saw these schemes working very well in conjunction together, we saw that those countries have fared much better than other countries. So this is what we can share with you today. Today, the topic is called Staffing Evolution Post-COVID Strategies. I don't have to explain anybody that we are firmly in the midst of a paradigm shift here with characteristics such as on-demand staffing, outsourcing, the freelance and gig economy are mega trends that are very much present and will accelerate after the COVID is behind us. And all these have changed the nature of hiring. As we expand our sourcing and recruiting models, we also change from staffing providers to staffing curators. This transition is a key component and key differentiator of the recent evolution of staffing. And let me quote here a famous management guru, Peter Drucker, when he famously said, "Do what you do best and outsource the rest." Now, this is a very famous, but it's very much relevant, I think, from the world we're gonna experience going forward. He advocated for sure a very simple premise that basically discounted the command and control model up until that point that was prevalent. Drucker asserted that decentralization and simplification of companies worked best. According to him, organizations tend to produce too many products, hire too many employees they don't need, when a better solution would at times be outsourcing and expanding to economic sector that they should avoid. The concept of what eventually came to known is outsourcing. He used the example of front room and back room of each business. A company should be engaged only on the front room activities that are critical to supporting its core business. Backroom activities should be handed over to other companies that have this expertise. Of course, this is an extreme example, but it's very relevant in my point of view of the world we'll see after COVID. A much more focus needed on the core activities of each company, and a serious look at making sure that that the focus is not distracted by non-core activities. And this, of course, is where Adecco comes into picture. The back door is well ingrained in our core offerings. By nature, we have the same goal as our clients, to make profit. When we partner with our clients through the outsourcing model, and when our clients are looking for something beyond the standard transaction-based outsourcing contract, unit of activity or a headcount, we succeed in making significant improvements in productivity and increase in revenue and profitability. Today, our clients are happy with this joint success and don't view us as a third-party agency, but as a partner. And for Adecco standpoint, it's very exciting because it's like being part of every of our clients' core business and being in it, affecting their growth metrics and profitability of their core business, understanding the very nature of what sustains profitability for our clients. In our own way, doing business, we are mutually invested in collaboration together to identify, bring about improvements in our relationship. The outsourcing Adecco offer is valued by our clients for its ability to increase productivity through KPI-based merchandising, sales force management, and other back office services. This solution creates also a lot of flexibility and cost optimization for businesses. It improves workforce planning as companies can more easily budget for assignments, projects, and spikes. I don't want to take too much time on this because we have very esteemed panelists, but let me just finish off telling you that this is unprecedented times for economies, societies, and people. And yes, people, very important. People who are the biggest asset companies and countries have. We need to provide them with work and make sure everybody participates into this recovery, while we support and help everybody go through this period. This is our main objective at the Adecco Group. So without much further ado, let me now invite Manu Sehgal, Director General Staffing Business, to start the panel discussion. And thanks a lot to all of you for participating. Over to you, Manu.
Thank you. Marco, to set the context of this virtual webinar. Hello everyone, and welcome to the panel discussion on staffing evolution post the COVID strategies. Let me first introduce myself. I'm Manu Sehgal, Director General Staffing at Adecco India. I head the contract staffing and permanent hiring business, and I'm responsible for driving growth and coordinating operations in the region. With 2 decades of work experience, I'm very comfortable with go-to-market strategy, sales leadership, growing and managing large-scale business. My passion is maintaining client relationships and creating winning teams. In the last 5 years, I've done multiple roles in the Adecco Group India, driving the professional staffing infrastructure managed services, permanent placements, pharmaceutical and life science business, and now the general staffing business. Prior to Adecco, I have served with Wipro and Birlasoft, and I was responsible for managing mission critical IT infrastructure for clients, and also had an experience in project management domain before moving to staffing and talent optimization team, which was responsible for resource fulfillment, allocation, and management. I hold a Bachelor of Engineering degree from Mysore University and an MBA from Diyarbakir University, Agra. Coming back to our webinar, Staffing Evolution post the COVID strategy. The current concept of staffing has been around for several decades. Even so, it has continuously evolved. The lockdown has unlocked real work and shifted the focus from traditional staffing models towards a newer KPI-based outsourcing models resulting in better productivity, more flexibility, and cost optimization. It is important to realign both organizations' short-term and long-term strategies to mitigate this impact and come out as a leading sector. Some hard choices have to be made and need deliberation and viewpoints of multiple experts. Our goal is to help organizations facing fluctuations in talent demand or those facing challenges of operating a remote workforce by leveraging best-in-class digital resources, particularly for companies that are directly solving the challenges of today's world. Our business solutions will help employers hire more quickly and cost efficiently, virtualize the workplace, and redeploy the critical resources. Today's webinar offers senior executives a thought leadership environment for a focused discussion of new drivers shaping the staffing space. Joining us on the panel are two industry experts who have been at the helm of successfully navigating this change for their respective organizations. I'm so happy to introduce our first panelist, Prerna Jha. Prerna Jha is AGM Sales and Marketing, brand leader, Grasim Industries. Prerna is a mechanical engineer turned marketing professional with 8+ years of experience across oil and gas and retail industry. I figured out one thing common between both of us. We both are from a Fauji background. Being an army kid, she has always loved to explore new territories, cultures, and places. A great importance in being open-minded and disciplined. After her MBA at Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, she joined the leadership program at Aditya Birla Group. In the last 3 years with the group, she has looked at BTL campaigns for brand lever. As COVID-19 continues to interrupt our lives and businesses, all marketing activities and spends need to be revisited. More than an interruption, it's a disruption. And it is forcing us to adapt and be more efficient and reprioritize our personal and professional lives online and offline. Thank you, Prerna, for joining us today. It's such a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you.
Our next panelist is Krishna Rakshay, Head Employee Relations, Bayer Crop Science Limited. Krishna is a transformational leader with expertise in HR and employee relations, who is passionate about building winning teams in a global environment. He holds a master's in labor studies and a law degree from Mumbai University. He brings more than 20 years of experience working with organizations like Bayer, Garda Chemicals, Thermax, RPG Group companies. We are happy to have you with us, Krishna. Our next panelist is our in-house champion, Debabrata Debnath, Associate Director, Outsourcing. Debabrata, popularly known as Deb in the staffing circle, is a 15 years veteran in the staffing industry with last 12 years with us in Adecco. Deb has managed various sales and operational functions in staffing while witnessing the evolution of staffing in India across industry sectors. They holds MBA in marketing and has worked briefly in education and entertainment industry before joining the staffing world. With this, we are done with the round of introductions. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's just warm up a bit. And my first question, and we have a series of questions. The first one is to all of you. Let's talk about your experiences over the last 6 months. Maybe if you could give us one positive outcome or reflection from the COVID-19 era over the last months that we have learned. And I request Prerna, if you could just start us off.
Thank you, Manu. Also, thank you for that lovely introduction. So, COVID-19 has very frankly been a mixed bag. There was a lot of anxiety, especially in Feb and March when we didn't exactly know what we are getting into. Now the situation is much more clearer, but when it had happened, we were very uncertain and there was a lot of unpredictability around this whole thing. But I think the upside to this is that, so it is an interruption, but I think more than that, it's a disruption. It's a disruption which always changes human beings, market, the world for the better. So even in this 6 months, my Instagram and my Facebook is flooded with posts of people about how they have changed their lives. People have gotten into meditation, they have spent time with their family, they've spent time with their pets. So a lot of positivity has also come out of this. In my case, one good thing that came out is that I have been able to reprioritize. Like a lot of times, life is like running on a treadmill. You don't exactly know where you're going. It's just a rat race. We all want to win. And when something like this forces you to stop, you have no option but to think about what really matters to you. So that happened. I think that happened for all of us. Another thing that I realized is that we, the people on the panel, all of us who are attending this call, we are the privileged ones. And there are a lot of people who are not so high on the dominance hierarchy, who are very vulnerable when something like this happens. So empathy is a value which is completely understated. But if we want to get through this, it is really important to help in whatever capacity we can. So I think to be able to reprioritize and to think of the bigger picture, think of other people, are the two key takeaways that I have from the last 6 months.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And Krishna, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you very much, Manu, for nice introduction of mine. See, basically, I completely agree with the Prerna because, the lockdown and this pandemic has actually induced, disruption everywhere in all what we used to do, the way we used to do something like this. At Bayer, if you ask me the positive outcome of the reflection, what happened within our company or organization perspective. So I can give the one example in that way. In midst of all this happening, lockdown started in month of March around 19, and then what? So, but in month of May, mid-month, now we actually had a wonderful opportunity to witness the deeply ingrained Bayer life values of leadership, integrity, flexibility, efficiency among our colleagues. And there's a strong commitment to the company's vision, like, health for all, hunger for none. And, we actually seen the exemplary stories, of our employees, the rising above the roles to the benefit, not to our customer, but the neighboring communities as well. So actually, all these people who work hard, they're the Bayer heroes for us. And during this period, we actually seen them that they choose the personal way. I mean, completely something different. It's an innovative kind of thing they've done to go, to supply food. To provide essential food items rather than provisions to police people, the healthcare workers, as well as the homeless neighbors. Maybe during those time there was a lot of rush about the migrant workers lying on the roadside only without having anything to commute from the one station to another station. And all this, they were helped with the masks also. There are few employees who actually made the homemade masks and supplied to these people. So they had taken upon themselves to find the innovative solution to make the positive impact, which bearing the testimony to of our employees' value proposition as well. As a company perspective, that is the passion to innovate, power to change, and both within the company as well as externally. And that is what, we normally, we always talk about the values. But this was the time where we actually, witnessed it.
Yeah.
That's from my side.
And very true. And we see the values of your organization right behind you in the backdrop. Yeah. Yes. So thank you so much, Krishna. I request Dave to add his views to this.
Thanks, Manu. In fact, while Krishna and Prerna, they talked about the human side of this crisis, people becoming a little more empathetic, and then there are frontline warriors helping each section of the society to overcome this crisis together. I also see, many people saying that, I don't find time to be reflective or to think on strategy. It's always, reacting and firefighting. I mean, while many of us will echo with that, especially people who are in, high pressure jobs, which includes me as well. I also feel, every crisis the world has faced so far has also given us opportunities to, learn new things and then build them in when, things start to change again. Well, in the work front, I think it has given us the opportunity to know each other a little better, a bit better, getting more insights and helping us to connect with our, colleagues at a slightly, deeper level. And I'm sure next time when we get back to office, we're going to carry, our whole self a little more, which will definitely result in better employee relations and enhance productivity. Also, if I talk about, what we did from the company perspective, and I think this stay-at-home mandate also helped us to, take a pause, do a quality analysis of our processes, our technology, and then simultaneously also connect with our clients to, and fortunately we got an opportunity to, to connect with our clients a lot more, of course these are all, virtual, meetings and handshakes. But then we got to know them a little more, understand their changing requirements, their expectations, and then, analyze them. And then we try to see where we can add more values and, add maybe a couple of service lines, which keeping in mind the future of work, the gig economy, which Marco talked about, the freelancer and stuff like that. And of course, we also looked at the current, state of the art technology and, see where all we can improve to make it work for everyone going forward. So while we are impacted just like any other business, but I think, we could still sail it through successfully so far because of all the good work in the past and all these, new initiatives which are always appreciated by our esteemed clients. Yeah.
Thanks, thanks, Deb. And I think it is so beautifully summarized. We heard about interruption, not interruption, but disruption from Prerna. We heard health for all, hunger for none from Krishna and from Deb. Again, a lot of introspect and time to spend with yourself. I think, yes, I completely agree and resonate your thoughts, Deb, that we have been able to communicate much more. I think I'm talking to my team more than I used to talk in the pre-COVID days, and even so with the clients. And earlier we had we used to travel to meet people, but today we are able to cut on to that travel time and stay connected, and because of that we are able to connect with more number of people during the day. So yes, absolutely right. And moving ahead on this, if we zoom in a bit more on the COVID-19 and per se the talent management, in organization, if we move in that direction, what has been so far the impact of COVID-19 on your organization's talent management strategy? Krishna, if I can request you to share some thoughts on this.
Sure. So at Bayer now, if you actually ask me about the talent management strategy, then at Bayer the employee come first, basically. And much before we were impacted with this COVID-19 situation or lockdown more clearly, we had some ongoing activities within Bayer India as a globally also. We had a post-integration activities. I mean, it's like a smooth transition of the employees from the one company to another company, because we had merger. That's a Bayer and Monsanto merger we had in 2019, and there was a lot of activities happening post-integration. There was also some global projects were ongoing alongside, which is demanding to put a new processes, practices, to create a new ways of working in order to strengthen the innovation and productivity in the system. So all these were happening at the same time. it's like, all this, the very focused projects to bring the competitiveness, bring the profitability within the business, and the biggest task at that point of time was, to design ourselves for the fit for the purpose organization in terms of structure, in terms of culture. Second, this lockdown pandemic, when it occurred, it's a coincided with the, both the situation. So we immediately took call. We suspended all our other activities and just focus on, towards the health, safety, well-being of our employees, as well the continuity of our business operations overall. As a part, now we made some changes in our people strategy, talent management strategy, and we actually initiated a few things. It's like, we ensured that all our employees not only receive their salaries on time, but also the schedule merit increases, the planned promotion, the short-term incentive also. Secondly, we further fully sponsored them that the health enhance. Basically, we already have the health insurance, but we enhance due to these special circumstances. And this enhanced insurance coverage was not only extended to the employee, spouse, children, but also to their parents to help them to handle this situation. Then we also extended that telemedical services to all our employees. So telemedical services, telemedicine services, in fact, talks about that now employees can avail, guidelines or consultation online or with a panel of doctors, and also order medicine on the discounted rate. As well, they also can, go for the health checkup plans and a discounted rate, an attractive rate, in fact, we can say, and there are many other value-added services on this platform. So basically, all these things we immediately cover up, and we try to, push to our employees so that they've been taken care. Apart from that, knowing that the impact of this lockdown, we understood that the mental health of our employees and their families are also question mark maybe. So we encourage our colleagues to avail the confidential, not toll-free helpline. If they find that the work from home is really stressful for them, or they are not able to cope up the balanced work as well as the home responsibilities, or facing any other challenges due to the personal and professional capacity, they can always avail these helpline services. And these services, is handled by, independent panel of the experienced and the qualified psychologists in a complete confident way. Apart from that, we also organize few Zumba, yoga sessions for our employees to keep them active during this, lockdown period. And, so all this activity, apart from that, lastly, if I is to really put it in that, this is not only the full-time employees we are taking care of, but we also have the contractual employees with us. Is around more than 9,000 people working across pan-India. So what we done, the first step is that we actually offered our vendor partners the bi-weekly payments, so that in turns the vendors can make a fortnightly payments to their employees or associates. All associates will not run short of any cash during this challenging time. Plus, we also ensure that none of vendor is just because short of cash is not able to make a payment. So we offered them some advances as well. Apart from this, we also conducted one COVID survey especially for contingent workforce, to understand that what is the mindset during this period. So whether they are getting their salaries in time, whether the migrant laborers are there, if they move, will they going to come back again when the situation get normalized, whether they have been fully aware about the company's support during the COVID-19 situation, because our EHS team EHS team was working very hard to create the awareness for the COVID situation. And we conducted the survey. The outcome of the survey was very interesting. So 99% of this contractual staff says that they got their salary in time. 98% migrant contract associate, they said that they would like to come back to the company when the situation get normalized. And almost 100% contractual staff, they say that we are completely aware about the awareness program conducted by the Bayer. And that's a really interesting for. So this is how we handle the talent management piece in the company.
Brilliant. Very, very interesting, and it's so good to hear employee come first, and it so resonates with the values that we have in Adecco. And we also heard Krishna speak about the contract staff, the contingent workers, the migrant workers, and picking up from there. Prerna, if you could just share your organizational experience on adopting the outsourcing model. You could share your experiences on that.
Thank you, Manu. So I think the best example I can give is this Liva Fashion Advisor activity, where we had actually partnered with Adecco. We've been doing this for 6 seasons, and we have recruited close to 1,500 to 2,000 people through this activity via Adecco. So Liva is essentially an ingredient brand, and we are present in garment form across multiple brands. So when we wanted to do this activity, it was a very tricky one because Liva does not have its own store. We are available through our partner brands to the consumer. So this was a very tricky activity for us, and we didn't know whether we should recruit all these people. Should we do a pilot? Should we outsource it? So we did a pilot, and then we learned from it, and then we realized that this is something that should be outsourced, because I'll steal Marco's words here, basically do what you do best and outsource the rest, and it's really paid off for us. So we recruit, because this is something that gives me an India-wide reach and depth. When we are talking about launching and recruiting people India-wide and maintaining so many people on a daily basis, like there's an app where you are getting feedback, you're checking attendance, you are checking what time did they check in. So outsourcing has basically, you need to find the right partner. You need to know, find people who are expert in that area, and then it mitigates risks also. Like, you know that, okay, this is something where two companies have come together and they try to do this. And I think it's been a very smooth journey for us. Like, even when we do our audits or when we do our trainings, outsourcing has worked beautifully for us in the past, and even in the Liva Fashion Advisor activity. So in case of any backout or in case of anybody needing training, it's very easy to pinpoint that out of these 350 stores where exactly the problem is and how do I solve it. And it's a great relief to know that we have Adecco as a partner to help us do this. So I think the outsourcing journey has been very beautiful for us. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much on that, Prerna, and good to partner and support you with your organizational goals. Moving on to you, Krishna, if you could share some of your experiences on adopting this outsourcing model, the model that is the next step to any staffing model. The next step is the outsourcing model. So how has the organization been adopting it?
See, basically in India, we started exploring to use the contractual staffing for more than a decade now. Initially, we used to take a support of manpower supply model to handle the various operational activities in field, as well as some locations also. But around 7 years ago, seeing that the complexity of this manpower supply model, we moved to the more compliant model. That is, we can say the managed service model. So we call it as a supervisory model or the LEAP model within our system. So wherein vendor partners are supporting to the companies to handle not only the administration of their associate deployed at various sites, but also handle the different marketing activities for us. And this is, we recently we again made some changes to our earlier managed services model, and there's a new version that's a 2.0 is now running. So maybe your company is also supporting us into that model. But if you ask me my personal now way, I would like to explore the possibility to co-create the model with our vendor partners in line with it's like a output based model, or maybe the something like we just will give the target to the vendor partner and they need to take every operational activities on their own. They need to plan and they finish the job and they charge us and give the desired results. So that is how we would like to work in future.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Prerna, we know that you have been in the oil and gas industry in the past and currently in the retail, very closely associated with the retail industry. And I'm sure in this you also have experience in channel partners, distribution, merchandising, etc. So thinking of these, not only the large chain retailers, but even the other industries that you have exposure to, be it the logistics or the telecommunications or the e-commerce. How can they, these sectors, how can these sectors reinvent their business models through the outsourcing model?
Yeah. So I think the major problem that any industry is facing right now, and especially industry like retail, is there are a lot of forecasts around what kind of a demand we'll have or what kind of a supply we'll have. There's a lot of, like, even the researches that we do with consumers, we right now don't know if the consumer will spend, if they will want to spend on something like buying a cloth or buying a shoe, because we cannot take all this for granted now. So the consumer behavior is extremely unpredictable. So we don't know what kind of a supply shock or a demand shock we'll have, and which is where outsourcing fits in perfectly, because you help us manage the fluctuations that we see. Like, basically outsourcing can help us fill that gap. And another benefit is that it will also be extremely cost effective. These industries are really pressed for profits right now. Like, profit is, even if we just break even at this point, or even if we can do 50% of what we were doing last year, going by the forecast right now, it will still not be, I don't know, looking by the way this year has gone so far. Yeah, so I think we really don't know about how this will pan out. There is so much discussion about a second wave and when will it happen, and there's no certainty as to when the vaccine will come. So I think outsourcing and temporary workforce helps us tackle this to some extent. It becomes like a shock absorber, and it becomes the help that you need when these unpredictable things happen. It will help us save a lot in overhead costs or labor costs. I think it's the most efficient way to go about things going forward, given all this unpredictability in the scenario.
Yeah. Yep. And talking about unpredictability, if we dig into that topic at hand, the sales force and the merchandising outsourcing, is it a leap of faith or a ladder to success? In this highly volatile and sheer competitive market, I would request Krishna to throw some light on that.
Actually, Manu, I just missed this line. Did you ask about that? Various, how the effect of reinventing the business model, or what do I miss the question?
Yeah, it is whether it is a leap of faith or it is a ladder to success. What do you think that outsourcing as a model would contribute to, given that the market is so dynamic, it's very volatile, there's so much competition in the market? How do you think that this is going to help there?
Okay. So, if you ask me my point of view, there is absolutely no debate that the outsourcing practices, continues to thrive. Today's the modern business landscape, basically. In fact, the major companies, will keep the outsourcing a huge chunk of their business primarily to cut the unnecessary cost. and subsequently focus, as Marco said, on the core business operations, or maybe the where they are expert into, or maybe the more into the strategic business goals for the company. So company, also thinking in the same direction. They are also exploring the ways to tap into the gig economy. As more people are seek the self-employment, either by necessity or by choice, and companies, they're also wanting this all talent should be get help to them. So outsourcing, if you actually see that everything will not be available within company, and it's the fast changing, industry, or the highly competitive scenario. The company needs the different kinds of skill sets which are available maybe in a different place. If they don't outsource that skills, they may run behind the competition. So outsourcing and adopting the change is really indeed in this scenario.
Yeah, thanks, Krishna and Prerna. So we have talked a bit about the business aspects. We heard the business aspect from both Prerna and Krishna. If we can shift a minute and talk a little bit about the role of change agents within the organization to advocate adopting the new model. I'm sure any change management is not easy, especially so if it is so tightly and so closely connected to the business. How did you get a buy-in in your organization?
I think, Manu, you are right. Change is like, people are very opposed to change, but I believe that if there is a time to change and people have realized it, it is now. Like, it was involuntary in the beginning, but now people have realized that this is the only option you have. The world around you has changed and you have to change to be able to tackle this situation. Thankfully for us in the Birla Group, outsourcing is something that we have been doing for decades. And this is like, even at Liva, even at Grasim, we have a lot of workforce which was outsourced, and then the fashion advisor example that I gave. So change, historically, it's not been a very tough nut to crack, because the proof of outsourcing and the benefits of outsourcing are very clear I've seen it very clearly in this group at least. But we did have a challenge, like I was mentioning, for the fashion advisor activity, where we hadn't done something like this before. We evaluated the risks, we talked about the pros and cons, but eventually to get a go ahead, to get people on board to do this, we just thought that, okay, let's do a demo and see. So we reached out to Adecco and we did a very small scale pilot for the activity, where I think we started with 10 stores in 2 cities, 1 partner brand. We learned from the demo, and then eventually we knew that, okay, we are going to do this India wide with 330 stores or something. So I think as a change agent, or as anybody who's trying to do something a different way, we talk numbers, we talk arguments, but in the end, if all of that does not float, just do a demo and let the results speak for itself.
Yeah. I think pilot works the best for anything new that is coming our way. And I'm sure that when we are doing something new, and in today's world that we are so digitally advanced and we are so technology dependent, adoption of technology plays a vital role in the outsourcing model, and it requires that the buyers can understand that the benefits are quantifiable and relatable. And I would want to hear from Krishna on this, please.
Okay, so your question was that, the technology's role in outsourcing model to understand the benefits in a quantifiable and the relatable way. Basically, if we actually see that, there's huge changes witnessed in the industry today. The first, there is the growth of a new business model innovation, which means a shift from the traditional employer-employee relationship towards a more diverse workforce ecosystem, which means that there's an increase in the contractor, increase in the freelancer, increase in the gig workers. Also, working in such a dynamic industry means that you must constantly innovate and upgrade yourself in order to respond to to emerging the business operational trends and opportunities available in market, such a highly competitive market, as well prepare for yourself for the further development in future. So digital transformation journey, or if you ask me about at Bayer, there are so many things happening in the digital upgradation. But if you ask me the outsourcing model and digitization, then working in a simple way, I would like to put in the way that. So there is it's like strengthening our ecosystem if we adopt technology, so that we are not limiting ourselves to the internal competencies only, but rather relying on the open innovation and the collaborative approach with the vendor partner to solve the complex problem and create the new services within. And it could possible only if we are now technology savvy, because in this lockdown period or pandemic situation, whatever the way we used to work, all of a sudden we made changes. So all people who used to come in office and work, they all started working from home, and they're well connected. So people who, in our system, people used to go in field and work, meet farmers, do their jobs. Lockdown, it was not possible, but still they were connected with the farmers. They were giving their outputs to the company. And lastly, digital does not only impact the highly visible aspects like a system or infrastructure, or technology doesn't mean that now you have a system or infrastructure only, but it's also impact on the less tangible, and equally important aspects like a values, vision, culture of that company. So it means that not only transforming business with the latest technology or digital application, but also adopting the digital mindset at workplace is important today. So, and this is going to give, this is technology only will play as a game changer in overall scenario.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Krishna, for this. And with this, I would want to hear it from Deb. Deb, how do you think, or how well do you think that Adecco is prepared for this technology play in this new model that is evolving?
Well, before I answer your question, Manu, let me tell you, you are doing a wonderful job, Manu. Thank you so much. And and thanks, Prerna, as well. It really sounds music to ears when you hear from your clients that the association is, working so good, and then we are talking about future projects and plans. So thanks, Prerna. Thanks a lot. And thanks for all the support that we have been receiving from you all this while. Well, talking about technology, Manu, we all know, and as rightly, being put by, Krishna, that, it's not just about the infrastructure technology, but also about the digital, platform that you have for the entire ecosystem being put in a digital platform and with a changed mindset. So we all know that, the market dynamics are changing, and there is a decisive shift in the economic, demographic, and as well as, the psychographic indicators. While the economic turbulence in the form of a crisis is very much evident, the drastic changes in demographic and psychographic indicators of consumers are not apparent to a larger audience. However, we are increasingly getting cognizant of the fact that how these factors which are reshaping today's business landscape. So technology, which has witnessed a paradigm shift, which Marco also talked about, a paradigm shift in business arena has actually become a critical enabler to achieve this. And role of technology is today looked at from a totally different context as a demand driver and synthesizer. And when we talk about technology aspects in outsourcing, it's no different, and I think technology is the biggest enabler and the backbone of any kind of outsourcing engagements that we see being offered to our clients. And absolutely, there's no two way about it. But what is more important is to realize, that your success will actually largely depend on what kind of technological tool you use for your projects. A full stack applications along with knowledge and expertise which you bring on table to leverage these tools is always the key. A state of the art data and technology environment not just help organizations like a Grasim or a Bayer save time, but also help to automate processes which Krishna talked about, and achieve time to market benefits. Who can ignore the data analytics, the storytelling. So the data analytics provide many insights, and if it is coupled with AI, the analytics can actually help leaders to uncover thousands of data points, which will tell you stories about the customer needs. Sometimes even give you some pointers about the latent needs which are not apparently visible behavior. I mean, it also helps all those data and dashboards can also help clients to understand the consumer's behavior, their preferences, and can ultimately help organizations delivering enhanced customer and employee experiences. And that's what we have been endeavoring in terms of bettering our technology day by day, and having modules which are forward looking. And I'm sure with the analytics, the amount of analytics and the amount of dashboards that we bring on with our technology will not only help clients in terms of optimizing cost, give a lot of data points, but also helps in terms of understanding the time and motion study of all the people that we engage and take actions. Yeah.
Yeah. So great. Dave, now that you're outlining here, these are the carrots to outsourcing. It's also important to find a reputable partner, because they are a direct representation of your organization. Their actions reflect on how retailers and customers perceive your brand. We have heard that from Prerna, we heard that from Krishna, how Adecco was able to support them. But we would want to hear it from you, how important this is, and how we have chartered this across, so that we our brand merges into the client's brand, and we come out as one face for their end clients.
Okay, so yeah, so journey is pretty interesting, Manu. When I talk about outsourcing, business that we offer to the market, and being an industry leader, it is always our duty to to improvise on the existing products. And if you look at the life cycle of staffing and the evolution of staffing industry, which actually happened in the developed economies much earlier, and we are slightly moving in that direction. I'm sure we are going to reach there at no time. See, outsourcing as a strategy for any client is no more a novelty, right? I mean, if you look at the global CAGR of outsourcing, it is around 8%. And if you look at the Indian market, where outsourcing is catching up pretty fast, it's a whopping 21%. So more and more companies have understood the benefit of outsourcing, and these days are either outsourcing a part or a full activity in areas like Salesforce management or merchandising activities, which includes loyalty programs and maybe some amount of mystery audits and ATL activities, BTL activities. Then of course there are some back office activities which also can be outsourced. For example, if you outsource your mailroom service, you outsource your a part of your finance, maybe the payment and collection departments. However, not all engagements bring results as per expectation. So you see, it's equally important to do a proper due diligence before you onboard your outsourcing expert. So what do we bring on the table as an expert? So as an expert, I should be able to support you to target, new and underserved market when it comes to sales and Salesforce management. I should be able to help you, leapfrog all the technology constraints that you have all this while. I should be able to, help you break out of silos, help you optimizing cost in terms of identifying, duplications or identifying layers which are adding to your cost or the extra flaps. Help you, bring in expert advice, give you liberty to, as Prerna mentioned that, give you liberty to scale up or down the size of the engagements or operations as per your business cycle or your requirement. Help you leverage the mature technology that you bring on the table along with the data analytics, which ultimately help you to increase revenue and profits. Give you a business solution or a model which will have a greater accountability, which will have more and more analysis and dependable performance management. And I think, and most importantly, how well do I understand your processes? How well do I sync with your culture and become an extension of your brand? So, so as a leader, when you're deciding on onboarding and outsourcing expert, you should look out for a partner and not just a provider. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfectly summarized, Deb, and I would probably request Krishna. During our interaction, Krishna, we also heard you talk about one very important and key aspect, where right now we are talking about movement of staffing to an outsourcing model, which is KPI driven. The next move that we hear from you would be not KPI driven, but output based models. So I want to hear more from you and share your views on that, so that organizations like ours can gear up and step up for that.
Okay, so I just mentioned that. So when I was deployed in south, mainly Hyderabad region, so I used to see that how the other companies are handling their the field operations, more pertaining to the their farming activities, and I found that very interesting that the one vendor is taking care of the entire farming activities on his own and just following the company's guideline. So it was really interesting for me, and I pulled that all information from that guy. I actually tried to connect. Initially, it was not very easy for me to collect all the information, but then after I understood that these people and what they are doing, that one company is just telling the farmer that this is what we are required, but not in a very systematic way. It's just like giving the verbal kind of things, and the farmer is doing as per the company official telling them to do. So I picked up that thing, and I actually discussed back with my business team that why we are deploying the manpower and we are administrating their outputs. So basically we are expert into the technical part of entire this agriculture activity. We should focus on that. We should create the list of the activities and the time period and outcome and yield of that particular stage, and just give it to the some vendor who will take care of through their farming people or associates. And that is the success story is that we actually done the piloting and we got the success. We got that the desired result, not exactly up to what we can say that the 10% benefit or 10% cost reduction or 10% manpower reduction, not like this, but yes, we could able to see that if we work professionally on this model going ahead, so it will certainly fetch the desired results. And accordingly that we are looking forward that we have the operations that the pan-India basis where different territories been managed by the different vendor partners. So few of territories, regions also managed by the Adecco people. And wherein they support us to handle the marketing activities, where they support us, to handling the administration of the field officers or the manpower which is deployed in the field. But this is again going back now. It's like we are involved in somewhere in the managing these efforts. So though we are saying that administration is the part of vendor, but somewhere I keep feeling, I have the strong feeling that company is still involved in the handling day-to-day or administrative affairs of this vendors associates basically. So going ahead now, my idea is that if the vendor come forward and they put a proposal that this particular territory will be managed by myself, you just have to give the plan of entire what you are expecting and charge us. This is what we will charge to the company if it is possible, and nobody will get it into, only that we will give the marketing plan, and that the rest of responsibility lies with the vendor partner, and they can always, that is the what output we are expecting from, and we will pay accordingly. So here the two things, either the company will not bother about how many FOs are working in the field, and you will also not bother that it's your business, it's a vendor partner's business, that how to handle it, because you end of day you have to give the desired results to us. If I'm saying that I need 100 activities should be happen within this month's time, and if you are committing that 100 activities will happen and I will charge this much, if the company feels that it's yes, we can, by taking care of few of important confidential information piece, if we can actually work closely, certainly it will work. And going ahead, earlier days it was like intellectual property, confidential information sharing rights and all this. But going ahead now, we need to keep somewhere all this backlog and park all this backlog somewhere. Otherwise, how we can say that we are trusting vendor partners and we are trusting, and then that trust need to be also get built by the vendor partners within the companies, because companies do have that fear. If I give my trade secret, I share my trade secret with vendor partner, they may take that trade secret and they work with my competitor, and what will happen to my business? If the trust is there, that the vendor partner is able to give that trust, certainly that the entire model will work very smoothly. And I'd seen many examples that how it works. I don't want to quote, but I can put up one example here. I don't want to quote the name of that company, but it's a very famous and most popular messaging application. This particular company, when they started 10 years back, the idea was generated by the two gentlemen, the founder members, and that was the time this kind of application was really breakthrough practices, and there was always a chances to somebody hack all the information and create another application. But these two gentlemen's trust on the outsourcing, and they actually had given the entire job outsource to the different company itself. And today, if you actually see that now, it's the most preferred and the most acceptable messaging platform. This is the future of entire outsourcing model.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, like rightly said, Krishna, it's a true partnership, the next level when we talk about output-based models. That's the true partnership that we are talking about, and that's the next wave that would come. And now more than ever, we have the pressure on both the supply and the demand side converging, making for the tipping point in the speed of adoption, the magic moment of on-demand staffing. We are at a global pandemic, and with guidance around the social distancing and other strict measures to counter COVID-19 threat. It is our expectation at this time that the course of economy recovery for industries will rebound very quickly. Our outsourcing services offering is an extension to our general staffing business, where we go extra mile to manage our associates' day-to-day operations and their productivity, and doing end-to-end execution of the project scope. Like you see on the slide, we enable our clients to focus on the core business activities, and we have heard that from Marco right at the start of this webinar when he was setting context for this. So we enable our clients to focus on their core business activities by managing the field resources and the operations, and help them in scaling up their business. The focus, they should focus on their core business and leave the rest to us, which would be more KPI driven, more cost effective, more efficiency driven, high on productivity. We manage end-to-end field force for sales, last mile delivery and merchandising activity, including but not restricted to only this. Be it the warehousing, the runner boy, the bikers, the courier pickup, the delivery person, etc. The support assigning tasks in real time to your field force, how you are digitally monitoring that, and you have a real-time data with you on what's happening at the field. Monitor the performance and creating those dashboards, those business analytics for you to take those business decisions eventually. The training and capability building of the entire team. Next slide, please. We also talk why one should engage with Adecco. What are the benefits of Adecco outsourcing? And we have listed a few, not all. These are some of the things that are really pain points of the business, and if that pain point is handled by Adecco, I think the business flourishes even more so as it is doing today. And some of the pointers that we have in terms of operational excellence, the technological prominence, the project management, the data automation. We're talking about all of this. We're talking about the HR leadership that Adecco brings onto the table for you. Some of the consultancy that we could give you in terms of running the HR solutions for you. Legal and compliance, again, is absolutely a zero compromise for Adecco. That is another thing that we bring on the table for you, and the financial strength of our organization, which makes it much easier for us to collaborate together and bring all these benefits and the years of experience that one has with Adecco that we have for our clients to take benefit of. Today, most of the companies are exploring new distribution channels focused on a direct to consumer route. Further, the ability to predict and manage demand will be a game changer. In this environment, shoring up the customer relationship while focusing at the bottom line will be the key. If you have any queries, and I ask so to all the participants here, we have a lot of participants on this webinar. If you have any queries, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to connect with you and take the discussion forward on the outsourcing front. I now open the floor to the audience if they have any questions for any of our panelists. The first question that we have from the audience, and I would like to park this question with Deb. Deb, outsourcing is primarily associated with the KPI model. What are the benefits compared to the traditional staffing model that we have?
Thanks, Manu. I love this question. We answered this question in detail. Well, yeah. So you know, we all are living in an era where we see disruptions, you know, disruptions everywhere, innovation, disruptions, you know, in every sphere of life. You know, you talk about, you know, the way you commute to office and you know, and back regularly, you know, through using the apps, Uber or Ola apps, or book a hotel, or the entertainment. I mean, the list can go on and on. And like I said earlier, staffing also went through, you know, such evolutions through various operating model, like, you know, it was the plain vanilla staffing, and then we moved to implant model. From implant, we moved to, you know, hub-side model, then an on-site model, a hybrid model in between, and then outsourcing, which is the latest one when it comes to, you know, the stages of, you know, staffing evolution. And of course technology as the backbone. I don't think we have ever used technology in such a manner in any of the, you know, steps in staffing the way we are using in outsourcing. So at a time when, you know, scalability, speed, focus are essential, now outsourcing is providing to be exactly delivering all these and more. You know, outsourcing, unlike traditional staffing, actually, you know, enable companies to take, you know, advantage of untapped opportunities, you know, by leveraging the skill resources that we bring on the table. You know, upskilling, reskilling of the associate pool that we have, the expert advice that we bring on, the KPI management that we have been talking about, you know, since the beginning, and of course the state-of-the-art technology from an operational standpoint. So, and outsourcing organizations can actually, you know, help you leapfrog technological constraints and break out of silos within your own organizations, you know, to better implement omni-channel and data analytics based practices. So I think, you know, if you look at the ratios, also there are some very interesting, studies which are made on outsourcing, which says that, you know, outsourcing can actually help you, you know, achieving more in terms of revenue and profits. You know, in a general, traditional staffing scenario, you have 37% of the population, and I'm talking about the Salesforce management. 37% of the populations are actually, you know, non-productive, which means 2 out of every 5 people are not, you know, achieving or helping you to achieve your scales. Whereas in outsourcing, the scenario is, and these are studies done by, you know, third parties, you know. So the moment you move to outsourcing and, you know, give your Salesforce management to a third party, an expert like Adecco, the ratio changed drastically, and we have seen that, you know, 79 to 80% of the populations are actually productive because there's a daily monitoring. There are, you know, quality pool that we bring in, which you can probably scale up and down as per your requirement. And of course, you know, with all the dashboards and the data points that we share, helps companies, you know, reorganize their strategy, long-term, short-term, and get the benefit out of outsourcing. So definitely, you know, it's much more beneficial than a traditional staffing solution, and that's how and that's where the entire corporate world is moving, and we also see this concept sinking in with not just the multinational. It's already, you know, there with the multinational companies. We also see this concept sinking in with the Indian majors as well, including the government and the semi-government sectors. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, thanks, Dave. And the next question, I think during the discussion we have heard this, Krishna. What are the future trends in the staffing business? I think the audience would want to hear it again from you. If you could summarize that very quickly for us.
If you ask me that the future trends, I could able to, you know, see the very important thing, that the increased dependency on the vendor relationship, as I mentioned earlier also. So today, you know, the more dependent on the vendor relationship will always fetch you that the desired results, and that is going to happen now. So more and more companies, when they, you know, they actually want to outsource the piece of operational work, they need to have that relationship with the vendors, and vendor also have the complete, you know, complete understanding, and also give the confidence to the companies that, no, yes, you can depend on us for the all kind of output or results you are expecting from the outsourcing company. Second trend is that the position of your company is very important now, because going ahead, this freelancer, gig workers, part-time workers, all these people will come under the pool of that particular outsourcing agency only when that company is like an employer of the choice company. So they would like to actually work independently also, but they will come under the roof of this company who has the brand value, who has a culture, who has a vision, who has a value. So that is also important piece. Then flexible talent pool, that would be the very important piece going ahead, because every company, as I said, that the company, when they started focusing only on the strategic part of their decision making or goal setting, then they would love to have or see the vendor company who has a capacity to give that talent on a very short notice. So it should not happen that today, if the company needs some developer with a specific qualification, and that particular skill is not available, or the company, that vendor company doesn't have that bandwidth to adopt or maybe bring that skill immediately on board, then there could be possibility that the outsourcing agency or the vendor partner will not give the proper support. And this is how the company will also work. Either they will go here, they will go there. They just want that the right talent for the few time for the project till the project get completed, and they move to the new projects. So flexible talent pool is another trend. Then now the latest is that there's a new code bill. So if you actually see that wage code bill we actually seen last year, this year again the 3 more codes get approved. The impact of all this code bills on the workforce management is very important. Vendor partners should immediately come up with that right strategy to handle if there is any gap between the current compliant model and future requirement of the act. So all these are very important piece going ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Krishna. And I hope we have time for one last question. And I would like to park that question with Prerna. Prerna, we have a question from the audience. How do you keep yourself relevant if you are mid-career?
Sorry, I didn't catch the whole question. Could you please repeat?
How do you keep yourself relevant if you are mid-career?
Throughout your career, how do you keep yourself relevant? Wow, that's like my conscience talking to me.
Especially so in these times, Prerna, in these times that we are talking, one is using a lot of digital tools, so you got to be digitally enabled, communication, etc. But how do you, from a skill perspective, how do you keep yourself relevant?
So I think there are a lot of things, like the world is a constantly changing place, and we have some sort of an idea of where it is heading in total, and we have some sort of an idea of where we want to go. So we just have to find some alignment. And so in terms of things changing digitally, I think we're doing good. Like India, like if we look at the number of mobile phones that people use in India, or if we look at the kind of how internet has reached even villages, so I think as a society we are able to tackle like the speed of how technology grows and the speed at which people are adapting to it has so far been good. But I think when it comes to, there are like when you look at people who are into data science, or in a way that artificial intelligence is taking over, I also sometimes feel like there might come a time where we really need to catch up with all this. Like, so we have to basically stay in touch with what is happening in the world. And there are a lot of, I think especially with COVID, I have had some time to go through some webinars and some short courses where I know that, okay, these are the things that are changing in the world. Even if I'm not directly doing that kind of work, it is just important for me, even as a consumer, even as somebody attending a meeting where maybe somebody else is presenting this, I should have some basic understanding of where the world is headed, where technology is headed. So So yeah, I think we just need to be in touch with what is going on and make small little efforts to be able to catch up.
Thank you so much, Prerna. And with this, we come to an end of our virtual webinar. Thank you, Prerna. Thank you, Krishna, and thank you, Deb, for being such great participants. This has been a very thoughtful, very fact-based, and very heartfelt conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed moderating it. And thank you all to the participants for listening and being such a great audience. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Manu.
Thanks, Manu. Thank you very much.